Dear tyrants, you're losing. I'm sorry, but you are. Freedom is winning. What are you losing? Well, without mincing words, you're losing your desperate attempt to coerce people into surrendering their freedom so you can have control. Your methods of censorship and propaganda attempting to conceal objective truth while fear-mongering about disease and climate so that you can control all who buy into your narrative should now be considered a failed effort. Now, I realize your role requires you to say something like, "We're not doing that." But unfortunately for you, myself, along with countless awakened freedom lovers, are not people who fall prey to your gaslighting. Therefore, we see and know what you're doing, and you're losing. Let me enlighten you a little further. Your past few years of mandates, lockdowns, Nuremberg Code violating rollouts, 24/7 media propaganda, and probably the many years of planning that went into it have failed. You've probably noticed that in the past month or so, seemingly right around the time of your beloved Pfizer's admission at the European Union that they never tested to see if it stops transmission, there's now a second wave of people waking up from your slumber of control. You had them for a couple of years, but now you've lost them. So suck it.
Well, at least I hope it is waking people up, because if you have seen the data dump of the Poke company that I'm trying not to say because I still have 2 strikes on my channel, and the propaganda machine is still turning with all the information now that's come to light, that all the stuff that was called conspiracy theories, and you're a crazy right-wing Trump supporter if you believe that the Pope doesn't stop the spread, that mandates don't work, that we shouldn't be locked down for almost 2 years, that children shouldn't have their education ripped from them, that we shouldn't be isolated to the point where mental health and suicide and domestic violence and child abuse have skyrocketed. If you're still in the era of thinking that big government did the right thing, then you are voluntarily deciding to be ignorant. The cognitive dissonance is just overwhelming for you. But I agree that I do think that this 2 years woke a lot of people up. Not enough. I still think the masses, whether they want to admit it or not, like even if they know it's the truth, a lot of people just don't want to change. A lot of people don't want to change their mindset. A lot of people don't want to change their perspective. A lot of people don't want to change their habits. A lot of people don't want to change their lives because life is hard enough. Life is filled with a lot of other obligations, or you're just lazy. It's easy to just to keep things the way they are. However, I do think the last 2 years is waking more people up than the last decade, in my opinion. And I think it's just going to continue. I think the reason why you've seen such a massive radical push for this crazy narrative in all aspects of life, politics, culture, and ideology is because they are losing. I've said it in other videos. When an animal or any living thing, a human being, feels trapped and they feel like they're about to lose their lives or they're at the end of the rope, they become more violent and more dangerous because they're fighting to survive. And I think that the establishment right now is fighting to survive and are fighting to hold on to power. Now, I don't think that we should all exhale at the moment because I still think there's a long way to go, and I still think the masses still need to be shaken up, and I personally still think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But as it's getting worse, what you're going to see is smaller communities breaking off from the mainstream and deciding to become more self-sufficient, more self-accountable, relying on each other in the community, and I think that's the way things are going to go. Stop relying on big government. Stop relying on establishment for information. Come together and unify. And I'm not talking about individual cult-like ideological political groups, but groups that just want to be able to live how they want to live and don't want to be attached to the matrix anymore. The matrix, you know, I know that's a big umbrella term, but you know what I mean. You don't want to be attached to the system anymore. And kind of how I live now. I don't live in the States anymore, and I live in smaller communities outside of big city, outside of big mainstream, and where there's a bunch of like-minded individual groups that come together and decide this is how we want to live. We want to live on our own terms. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. But I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to get back into the video.
And here's what you need to know, tyrants. The new masses who have finally awakened to the reality of what you're doing, we in the freedom-loving community of humanity will not greet them with judgment and ridicule for having been fooled by you, but rather we are and will continue to greet them with open, welcoming arms and compassion for having been fooled by you. And we'll acknowledge that the only reason they had been fooled by you for a little while is because they're good people who temporarily fell prey to your use of weaponized morality.
Stopping it there, I just want to hit on what he just said. For that to happen, we have to unify. After the 2 years and 1.5 years of people who were ridiculed and called conspiracy theorists and called crazy and told that they shouldn't be even a part of society anymore, what I saw after that was sort of like this revenge of like, well, making fun of people and kind of ridiculing people for falling for the propaganda, for temporarily being sheeple, for, you know, asking for the poke, for asking for mandates, for asking for lockdowns, for being a part of that sort of cult, right? And when I saw that happen, I said, well, if you do that, you're no better than them. You're no better than the people who ridiculed you in the first place. That's why cult-like ideology, tribalism, that's not going to work at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we have to unify. So if someone in your family, a friend, someone in your community, a neighbor at one point fell for it and maybe at one point ridiculed you, don't return the favor. Welcome them with open arms. When somebody's ready to come to the table to have a conversation, you should welcome the conversation. Anyway, let's continue.
And for the few who still are asleep and will awaken in the days to come, we'll greet them with the same compassion and acceptance. Now, I suspect you'd rather us greet them with disdain and rejection in order to create division within the freedom-loving community, but we won't fall for that because we're not as dumb as you hope we are. We know that divided, freedom falls, but united, freedom stands, and you fall, which you are. Dear tyrants, I want to talk directly to you about you for a moment. We know that some of you have nefarious intentions and are corrupted with evil to your core. So let it be on record that your nefarious intentions are acknowledged. You are criminals attempting to violate people physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We will not comply in any way with your nefarious intentions because we are a free people who claim our birthright of being born into our God-given state of freedom. Period. And I also acknowledge that some of you tyrants probably have earnest intentions that happen to come with nefarious outcomes. I fully acknowledge that. Though some of you are objectively evil, some of you are not. And if you're a tyrant who is not objectively evil, then what you are is a useful idiot. And that's not meant to be an insult. It's meant to be an accurate description of the role you're in. And if this is you, it means you yourself have been being used and deceived by the objectively evil tyrants into doing their bidding. And along with them being more evil than you, they're also more intelligent than you.
Having it there, and I want to say that goes for all sides. If you are playing the divide game, if you're playing the tribalist game, you are falling for it. You are a puppet. You are a useful idiot. If you are going my team against your team, my tribe against your tribe, if you are blindly following anyone and then blindly hating anyone else, you are a part of that useful idiot cult-like group that's helping the divide of society, the country, and ultimately the planet. I'm not saying not to hold those who've done wrong accountable. I'm not saying not to have hard conversations or tell people that, hey, you're helping push an agenda or push propaganda that's harmful to society, but to blindly hate someone or blindly follow someone or just be in a tribalistic cult-like group, no matter what political ideology, cultural team you're on, then you're part of it. Again, that's why I was disappointed when I reacted to that Tulsi Gabbard video. It's nothing wrong with questioning politicians who's going to run for politics if their words are matching their actions in the past. But this idea is like, I don't want to listen to anything she said because she did this in the past, blah, 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 blah. You're just the same as an SJW. You're just the same as the woke left, right? You know what I mean? It's like the red pill community. They say the same fucking shit that feminists say, right? You're no better than the other fucking side. So stop with the fucking tribalism, stop with the cult-like thinking, stop with the blindly following whatever fucking leader or talking head that you follow. Think for yourself, be an individualist, but come together. Again, when someone wants to come to the table with a conversation, welcome them to the table to have a conversation. Let's continue.
Those are the two factors that have compelled you to be used by them, with or without your knowledge. And if and when you decide to get sober from your addiction to power, though your past actions will never be forgotten, you will be forgiven. Tyrants, let's play imagination. For just a moment, let's live in the world where you actually succeeded in having complete control over everybody. Then what? How then would you further fuel your never-ending fiending for control? Perhaps the only next step is for you to begin cannibalizing each other for the last crumbs of control.
That's what they do.
But then what? You see, the game you're trying to play doesn't have a route to victory. It can only result in losing. That's because you've been trying to fulfill yourself in a way that offers no inherent fulfillment. That's why enough is never enough when it comes to control, and that's why you have lost.
That's why a lot of these groups, I'm going to speak on the left of the wokes of the world, that's why they always seem miserable. They always seem miserable, they always seem angry, they always seem like they have some mental health issues going on, and they're never happy. They're never content, and they're never at peace. Because it's not about equality, it's not about pointing out what's wrong or speaking up for a marginalized group. It's about power. I can make you apologize. I can make you bend the knee. I can make you say what I want you to say. It's about power, and it's never ending, and you do see them turning on each other. But again, that's any type of tribalist cult-like group. You know, you all start to turn on each other. You all want power. You want to be the biggest voice. You want to be able to tell people how to live. You want to be able to control people's lives. It's never ending, and you're never going to be happy or satisfied. Because that's not where contentment, peace of mind, and joy, happiness, love, that's not where it comes from. But anyway, let's continue.
But have you ever asked yourself why you're playing the game of trying to assert control? I know your narrative answer is, we're here to protect people and help the world with what we're doing. Aside from that being pure propaganda, manufactured with the raw materials of deception, no one ever asked for your help. Plus, I'm talking about the real answer to why you lust for control at the expense of people's sovereignty. Now, I suspect that you haven't ever genuinely thought about this question, so let me help you with the answer. My best guess is that deep down, you feel unlovable, and all you've ever wanted is to just be loved. But instead of going towards your heart where you carry this pain, you run from it by compensating with control. And if you haven't noticed the results of your efforts, having control doesn't fulfill your need for love, but rather it actually makes people love you less. And thus, the more you try, the more you lose while you're trying to make progress in this pit of quicksand you've created for yourself.
I mean, I think he's being very generous. Maybe that is some people's reasons. I think some people are just sociopath. That's it. I don't think that's the majority of people. But I think some people are just narcissistic, neurotic sociopaths who just want the power just for the sake of having power. But I do understand his example that he's giving. The more you hold on to something, the more that person runs away. We all know that maybe if you've experienced this in romantic relationships, between family members, or friendships, the more you try to keep the person as close as possible to you and control that environment, the more they're going to run away from you. But anyway, let's continue.
For yourself. So tyrants, here's my advice to you. Stop what you're doing, accept that you've lost. Stop trying to control others and feel your feelings. and start moving towards your heart that you've been avoiding, even if it's painful. In fact, especially when it's painful, do some deep inner child work and seek professional guidance with it. If you choose to do that, just know it's the only path you can take that will allow you to ever actually feel loved.
I like that advice, but I wouldn't say for the politicians or the leaders. Again, I personally think that this also should pass, but for the people that are in these sort of wokish, cultish, tribalist groups that are always angry, always mad, and it's always somebody else's fault, right? You almost justify your anger or almost use your anger as a virtue. Go fucking get help. Like, you do need mental health. You need counseling, group therapy, go travel, journal, go hug your parents, go talk to your parents. Maybe you got some childhood trauma. I believe that advice is good for those type of people, because a lot of it is like what Josh Jordan Peterson says, clean your own room. A lot of times people focus on other people's lives or the global problems is so they don't have to focus on their own issues that you should be fixing. And as for a lot of people, even individuals who hyper focus on what their friends are doing or how somebody else is living or telling other people how to live their lives, and telling people how to live their lives needs to stop on all sides of the fucking coin, right? Don't tread on me, live your life how you want to live it, none of my fucking business, right? But a lot of times people do that because they are trying to hide from their own fucking issue that they refuse to deal with. So yes, I agree with that. Go get help. Anyway, let's continue.
And if you choose not to, while it's possible you may never go to prison for how you violated humanity as you've largely operated above the law, you will in fact continue to live in the internal hell you've created for yourself. That choice is yours. But regardless of how you choose to move forward from this point in time, I'll leave you with this. You have lost the game that you're playing. A critical mass of humanity has awakened, and for the minority that is still asleep, the more you talk, the more you wake them up. We know that to be human is to be free, and the freedom-loving community of humanity is infinitely more powerful than you. We've taken our power back, and the strength of the warrior spirit will continue to work and grow our efforts to protect and preserve our freedom. Because one of the great lessons you've taught us is to never take our freedom for granted ever again. Tyrants, from all of us in the freedom-loving community, we wish you as people well. We also wish that you'll eventually allow yourself to also be free. God bless.
Free from all that fucking anger and misery you have all balled up inside your gut, your heart, and your mind, your soul. I don't know if I totally agree. I do think a lot of people are waking up. I still think masses are either asleep or too afraid to say anything because they don't want to rock the boat. And a lot of times people just like things to stay where they are. That's why people stay in toxic and abusive relationships. Yes, there's a lot of the psychological reasons behind that, but a lot of times people are just like, this is what they know, this is what they're used to, and they just don't want to change it. So I still think the masses are asleep. I still think more people are waking up more than ever, and I think it's going to continue down that path. But I still personally think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So don't sleep on it. Still pay attention. Still be aware of what's going on. But I do believe him that eventually, yeah, the tyrants are losing. I watched a deep dive a while ago about mass hysteria, mass contagion, and stuff like that. And what they were saying is one of the things that's implemented in a mass hysteria is mass delusion. And it's not just the people or the citizens that are delusioned, it's the leaders. They're delusional. They're delusional. They're delusion to their own power. They're delusion to their own abilities. They're delusion to their own objective. And they always underestimate the human spirit. And they always underestimate the drive and the passion and the natural innate need for freedom. And eventually, the freedom is what wins out. You know, maybe it takes decades, maybe it takes generation, maybe it takes a war, maybe it takes a revolution, whatever. But eventually the freedom does win out. All the time or in most cases. But you guys let me know what you think of this video. Do you really believe the tyrants are losing? Or do you believe we still have a long way to go or somewhere in the middle? Tell me what do you think of what I said, what he said in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. All that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is join my brand amendment. Off. Alright. Another great way you can support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop, links down below, and links to all of my alternative platforms, my Rumble, my Odyssey, my Minds.com, my Discord, my Twitter, and all the other links that I have in the description box below. Please go follow me, and I implore you to do so. I still have 2 strikes on my channel, so if I do disappear, I can have a way to still communicate with you guys. And if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle. I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go in the description box below and also in the comment section, hit the link. Go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And you guys, stay free.